Hi there and welcome to the House Drumworks. The track I have to have a look at today is a piece called Spearwind from the grade 6 syllabus from Rockschool. And again, I would say that this one is a good early one in the grade 6 syllabus to work on. It's quite a familiar sort of pattern feel, I think, and uses dynamics really, I think is the name of the game in this piece. Highly dramatic, sort of performance qualities, and the trajectory of the dynamic is basically just getting louder and louder through the course of the track. And I think that part of the success in that is making sure that we pace those dynamics very, very carefully here. We're starting at pianissimo, so 2 P's, which is quieter than quiet. So to give that some sort of context, if we think of 3 P's, piano pianissimo is 1 down from where we start here. Think of that as being the quietest at which you can play. So it's real pin drop stuff. So we're just a little step up from that. Now, when we're dealing with dynamics, we always need to relate, if we're dealing with charts and playing in an exam format or in a band, we need to sort of calibrate these dynamics a little bit. And what I mean by that is that, for instance, pianissimo in a rock band playing on a Friday or Saturday night in a big gig with a lot of people around, we might treat that differently to how we would treat pianissimo in a concert hall with an orchestra. So you just need to be a little bit exercising musicianship skills again. This is really what this is all about, I would say. Because one person's idea of loud is not another's, and your idea of loud on different nights of the week in different playing conditions might also change as well. So it's a relative volume level, but we want to start nice and quietly here. We're getting up to fortissimo towards the end of the track, so we want to be broadening these dynamics within reason as much as we can, and it's worth experimenting whenever you have more extreme dynamics. Experimenting how far you can push them, or even not extreme dynamics. See how far you can push it before it feels like it's too much. You might be surprised just how loud and quiet you can go and how much extra expression that gives you. Dynamics are often the most overlooked and simplest area of expression that an instrumentalist can employ. And I think certainly for the drum kit, we are, in charge of one of the most dynamic instruments that's ever been designed as an acoustic instrument, and unfortunately a lot of people don't use that dynamic range, so now's our opportunity to really learn that. So like I say, the chart's relatively straightforward. Nice gentle 8th notes moving to 16th, so the 16th note change will help to bring up the sense of dynamic change. It isn't just about loud and soft, it's about the content of what we play as well. So maybe as we start improvising later on in the track, we can be mindful of the dynamics that we're playing at to use our improvising effectively to bring out those dynamic changes as well. In terms of the content of the chart, rhythmically, I think we're reasonably straightforward here. We've got a 2/4 bar to watch out for, and because you're putting an improvised fill in there, all your instincts are probably going to be telling you to fill that up to a 4/4 bar, so watch out for that. Especially in terms of the phrasing in that section, we've got an 8-bar section where the 2/4 bar is placed as sort of almost instead of a 4/4 bar. So it's going to feel like there are two beats taken away. You might think that's quite an unusual thing to do, but actually it's quite common in cleverly arranged pop music, because what it's doing is it's getting rid of a couple of notes or a couple of beats in the bar that really perhaps don't need to be there. And you'll come across this in rock and pop music as you analyse the music to work out your parts. Surprisingly often, actually. It's a brave thing for an arranger to take on, because I think bands will just generally try and fill bars up to 4/4 all the time. But that's one of the reasons why we'll see 2/4 or 3/4 bars, is it turns around that section a little bit more quickly. There's no dead wood in there, the music doesn't tread water anywhere, so we're getting right into the next idea as early as possible. We've got a syncopated fill at the end of the next line, so that's page 2, end of the 3rd line. So you just need to count through carefully there. A lot of syncopation. Real nicely voiced fill using space and flams, got a little motif sort of movement down the kit there. This flam bass drum movement in 16ths. Then we're back into the groove again, chugging away, bringing the dynamic up again. Then the next thing that is immediately going to start raising eyebrows, I think, is the sextuplets once again. This time, not only the fact that there are sextuplets, we've got a couple of things in here that are going to make this fill something that we're going to need to spend quite a lot of time on. One is the pedal open hi-hat. So instead of pedal closed hi-hats and 8 notes at the end of the bar, we've got pedal open hi-hats. Now I think an easy way of developing pedal open hi-hats to start with, technique-wise, is try kicking into the pedal with your heel. There's a great little spot by the side of the foot plate, I hope you can see this, but where you can put the front of your foot in the tripod of your stand between the sort of centre part of the hi-hat stand and one of the legs, and then kick into the hi-hat with your heel. And you'll get these hi-hats chiming away. What that does is when we're playing away at fortissimo, playing really loudly, maybe splashing the hi-hats, that's a classic thing that I would certainly use at this sort of point. A lot of cymbals sizzling around there. When we jump onto the toms, we can sometimes lose that top end energy off the kit. But what that will do is maintain it while we're playing this fill over the top. Okay, to the sextuplets. Sextuplets in this sort of environment, again, a little bit like quick triplets. The class I'll put this quite slow here. And one of the difficult things about this sextuplet fill, not only have we got the pedal hi-hats running underneath, so I would say your first exercise would be get the sextuplet sticking going. And I'm going to accent this in triplets to start off with, just to give it some context. So your pedal hi-hats are going to be landing on right hand and left hand alternating. That can take a little bit of getting used to. So that's your first exercise. I'd say set your metronome up at the tempo, 65 crotchets a minute, aim for that. Remember that the pedal hi-hat is in quavers against that, so if your metronome's going at this slow speed, that's your pedal hi-hat tempo there. The sextuplet hand movement, the added complication here, it's both a blessing and a curse at this point. The curse part of it is that we often hear sextuplets either as groups of 6, which is what a sextuplet is, or subdivided into 16th triplets, so dagga-digga-digga, dagga-digga-digga. What we've now got here is they're divided into 4s. So we're getting this cross-rhythmic feel at this point. So rhythmically, we're in tricky water, but in terms of sticking, it makes it a little bit easier because we're going to do right hand lead again. So right hand lead. There's your hands against the pedal. Exercise actually to start developing the feel of this fill. So your sextuplet against the hi-hat, accenting triplets, and then try alternating that between moving into the 4s across the kit. The other way you can do it is pick your way through the hand movements very slowly. Write in the hand movements over the sextuplets and work out where the pedal hi-hat is falling underneath that. That's another way of doing that. So I think that's pretty much the content of the piece. When we're playing quietly, all the sounds that we're using, we need to be a little bit more critical, I think, especially things like cross sticks. There's a lot of different tone that you can get out of a cross stick sound. So the snare drum with the circle around it is playing as a cross stick at the beginning. So we'll be listening to the tone of that with the hi-hats. We want the shoulder in the edge, or we want the stick, the tip of the stick on the top. I'd say for me, we want to be using as much as we can to keep the dynamic down at the beginning. So I'm going to be using tip on the top at that point. And then we get to the loud stuff, laying into more the edge of the hi-hats later. So let's get this one up and running.
Spear wind. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So pacing the dynamics for me is really a big key to this track, and holding the tempo back, especially on an exam day when the nerves are going. It's so easy to play these tracks too fast, especially when we're getting up to the louder stuff. So try and really open up on the motions. And when you're practicing it before an exam, try to drag a little bit with the tempo as well. See if you can really control that tempo, to a point where you can bend it against the track a little bit. By deliberately rushing and deliberately dragging against the track, you'll get more of a sensation of what you need to do to correct that. And there's nothing worse than sort of falling out of time and not feeling like you've not got control of the tempo anymore. So, like I say, try and deliberately do that in your practice time. It's a great way to get a sense of how much correction you need to put in, and sort of bending things back into shape if you have sort of maybe picked up a little bit of tempo through a fill, practicing bending that into time. And this track is another good opportunity to do that. So enjoy the track, put as much drama in it and as much feel in it as you can, and just really enjoy that. I think it's quite a fun track to play in that respect, that you've got all the sort of nice, quiet, laid back, melancholic sort of stuff at the beginning, and then the big powerful stuff at the end. So get into the drama of Spearwind. Good luck.